Hi, my name is Siri Lam. I'm an English teacher and ed tech specialist in Brooklyn, New York. And I am here with a Not at ISTE Ignite called What If? Relinquishing Control in the Classroom. Okay, let's do this. I've been told that I don't know how to leave well enough alone. I've been told that I create problems for myself. I've been told to just accept things for the way they are, but I can't. I'm a self-professed overthinker, and I think it's the greatest asset an educator can have. In 2015, a group of researchers in Yale University set out to determine the effect of the internet on cognition. Through a series of 9 experiments, they found that people have become accustomed to outsourcing cognitive tasks to Google. We stop remembering things when we know where we can find them online. But since we tend to underestimate how much we rely on the internet for information, we end up overestimating how much we actually know. We conflate information stored online with knowledge stored in our minds. So if I spend time looking something up online, I'm very likely to assume I know it, or at least that I know more about it than I actually do. This study has ramifications for so many aspects of education, but today I want to focus on what it might mean for us as educators. As teachers, we seek routines. We establish them at the beginning of the year. We know students thrive on them. We thrive on them. This is what's expected at the beginning of class. These are the techniques and strategies that we use to develop our lessons. Here is what we do at the end of class. And that's not a bad thing. We're doing what we can, what we know to create the conditions for learning. We've spent the last decade or more moving away from the front of the classroom, designing student-centered learning experiences that transform lives. And that's awesome. We're awesome. But the time has come for us to do more. The world around us is changing. We're no longer the smartest people in the room. The devices in our students' hands and on our students' desks can inform and entertain them better than we can ever hope to. And that's okay. We distinguish ourselves with our creativity and our passion, but most of all, we are critical thinkers. And now we need to take our students to the water and we need to teach them how to drink. We need to empower them to be critical and thoughtful consumers of knowledge and media. And I believe that we can do all of that with just 2 words. What if? I'm far from the first person to ask this question. Writers ask it as they craft fiction. It's the foundation of Google's Moonshot Factory. It's the clarion call of entrepreneurs. It's the driving force behind innovation and creativity. But we need more people asking the question, more regular people asking what if. We need to make this question the norm and not the exception. Let it be second nature to question our beliefs and our routines. Let's not settle for what we think we know. As teachers, we're driven by the things we think we know. We know that these routines work. We have evidence in the students that we see succeeding and growing each year. We have evidence in the research that we read in books like John Hattie's Visible Learning that has meta-analyses of hundreds of studies involving millions of students. But maybe that's not enough. Let's put everything to the test. Let me reassure you that I'm the first one to admit that this can feel like a radical shift. But in a world where self-determination is becoming more and more important, it's incumbent upon us to question all the things we think we know and relinquish that control. We need to let the inquiry guide us. We need to let curiosity fuel us. We need to let the good kind of doubt lead us because our students need these mindsets to form the bedrock of their educational experiences. And we know that students learn best by imitation. It's ironic that the access to technology that's behind our misplaced confidence in what we know is integral to inviting what if into our schools and classrooms. We need technology to give students the independence to ask and find the answers to their own questions. But it's not the technology that's the problem. It's the fountain of information divorced from critical thinking. And that's the point at which we're all teachers of technology. Technology is a full-fledged member of our class, and we need to acknowledge that. I don't need to convince any of you who are watching that technology is integral to transforming what we do in the classroom. Instead, I challenge you to be innovative and experimental in your approach to teaching, not just with technology. Go beyond using technology to flip the balance of power. Today, I challenge you to ask, what if? What if I take another step back and give my students a bigger role in determining what happens in the classroom? What if I empower my students to become the architects of their own learning experiences? What if all the things I thought I knew about teaching aren't true? Take a moment to rethink everything you ever thought you knew. Take a risk and imagine that none of what you know is true. What can you do with that blank slate? What new possibilities emerge in that space? Now imagine that we get students to think this way too. What can they do with their blank slates? What new possibilities emerge for them? What kinds of brilliant contributions will they make in that space? And that's where I come back to the same question. What kinds of brilliant contributions can we make if we take the time to ask, what if?